Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And again, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. I am actually now going to share my screen. Let's see, here we go. So can you all see my screen, Abraham and Alec? You could let me know. Okay, wonderful. So welcome to Yale's undergraduate admissions information session for veterans and service members. My name is Patricia Way. I'm Director of Veterans Outreach for Yale's undergraduate admissions office. Please note that we're recording this session so that we can post this webinar online for people who cannot join this evening. During the first 45 minutes or so of this presentation, I'll be showing a slide deck and engaging, sorry about that, and engaging our three student panelists to give you a broad overview of Yale College. We will discuss our home city of New Haven, Yale academics, life as a Yale student and a veteran, financial aid and admissions. Along the way, we'll answer some of your pre-submitted questions, so thank you for doing that. You'll leave this webinar at the end of the presentation, and we'll then have the opportunity to join two Zoom meeting rooms immediately afterwards for Q&A sessions with Avraham and Alec, there will be sort of one Zoom meeting with the two of them and one Zoom meeting with me. These Zoom meetings will not be recorded. They're simply Q&A questions that are more interactive than this webinar format. They are completely optional. Oh, I'm not in, oh, sorry, here we go. There we go. Is that better? Okay, thank you. So when I give these types of presentations, I often feel like I'm a bit of an imposter, though I have worked for Yale for nearly 3 decades now and know everything about Yale, pretty much. I neither went to Yale nor am I a veteran. So I am particularly thrilled that joining me today are two current Yale College students who are veterans of the US military. We have Abraham and Alec. And so Evan, we had another student who was going to join us, but he may not be able to. So actually, Abraham and Alec, can you please introduce yourselves briefly, military branch, military occupation, years of military service, academic major, your hometown? Alec, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. So hi, everybody. My name is Alec Buffy. I am from North Providence, Rhode Island. I'm 26 years old, and I served in the Air Force for 4 years as a, I guess, sort of like a project management / construction guy. If any of you were in the Air Force, I was a structures troop. And I applied to Yale last year, and I'm in the class of 2024 studying computer science. Avram?
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Avraham Yormark. I was in the Army from 2013 to 2017. I did satellite command and control, which was fun. And then I decided I wanted to go to college, and through a bit of a winding path, I ended up here at Yale starting in 2019. And I'm studying global affairs. I'm 26 years old. And I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
And we don't only just admit 26-year-olds, right? It's just coincidence.
But Alec, preference for 26-year-olds, right?
So Alec, before we go to the next slide, I wonder if you can give just a brief description of how you ended up applying to Yale. Had you been planning on applying to Yale ever since high school?
No, I was not. Towards the end of my first enlistment, I started becoming interested in college. So I started taking classes at a college that was local to my base. And I figured out that I was sort of interested in it. I wasn't really sure. I attended Warrior Scholar Project, and that's sort of when I knew that I wanted to return. And through Warrior Scholar Project and getting to visit, I got to visit Cornell at the time when I attended, I sort of knew that I wanted to return to college. And then after visiting Yale for the first time, talking to Patricia and attending plenty of these sessions myself, I knew that this was sort of the place I wanted to be.
Thank you, Alec. And capturing everything about Yale in less than an hour is impossible. But the admissions office did give this some thought and came up with something that's really concise, and that is Yale is. And I know it sounds like a really bad piece of minimalist poetry, but I do think that the and concept captures Yale well. As you start your search for a four-year college or a new college, you may be thinking in terms of ors rather than ands, right? Should you major in physics or philosophy? Whether you want to go abroad or whether you want to stay on campus and do research, whether you want to go to school in a city or in a smaller college town. Well, I think what sets Yale apart is really our philosophy of and. First, our home city of New Haven, Connecticut is a perfect fit for this and analogy because it is an and city. When you live in New Haven, you get the best of both a small city and college town. Yale's campus is embedded in downtown New Haven, which is conveniently located between New York City and Boston along the Interstate 95 corridor. It's a small city with a population of only about 130,000. So it's not a huge metropolis like New York City, but it's urban. I like to say that New Haven is large enough to be interesting and small enough to be friendly. There are over 100 restaurants within walking distance of the New Haven Green. And New Haven actually has the second largest collection of free public art of any city in the United States. Most people don't know that. And there are many affordable apartments for rent or to share in New Haven. Most of our veterans spend less on housing than the military's BAH, Basic Allowance for Housing. Most everything you need is within walking distance, and there are also free shuttle buses that take you to different parts of the city, different parts of the campus, including the VA hospital. Yale students actively engage the New Haven community. In fact, nearly every year or every other year for at least the last 30 years, an undergraduate has been elected to New Haven's city council. I think it's great that students care enough about the local community that they're willing to run for public office. Avraham, what have you enjoyed about living in New Haven?
Yeah, so on the restaurant note, last night I went to this soft opening of this new vegan soul food restaurant, and it was delicious. And that just goes to say that I'm not a big restaurateur, but I have gotten around, and there's just so much good food to eat. One of my favorite things is also we're right next to a nice big park called East Rock Park, with like a river running through it, like a bit of a hill to run above. So I go trail running there all the time. I love the fact that Yale is within walking distance of my apartment. So in one moment I can be in kind of a college, university environment. But then when I want to separate from that and be in a different space, I just go back home, 5-10 minute walk from wherever I am on campus. And it's a small little like urban city area that just has a totally different vibe. I could go on and on with all the things I enjoy doing here, but I think New Haven is big enough for you to kind of do whatever city stuff you want to do, but small enough that you don't really have to deal with like a lot of the traffic and the noise and those other nuisances. So in sum, I like it here.
And so to talk about Yale as an and university, you need to understand our undergraduate education, which combines the best of a research university and a liberal arts education. So you don't have to choose between the two. In addition, oh, welcome, Evan. Let me actually, I'm glad that Evan is able to join us. And Evan, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. So let's take a look. We got 37 participants. Wow, quite a showing. Evening, everyone. I apologize for my delay. I had the worst trouble trying to get my internet to work with the link, but I got it done, and I'm here now. So I am a non-traditional student under the Eli Whitney program here at Yale University. My major is in neuroscience with a concentration in pre-medicine, and I'm in my senior year. Before I was at Yale, I spent 7 years in the Army as an 11 Bravo infantryman. Particularly, I worked with what's known as LRS, long range reconnaissance and surveillance, for the first 3.5 years of my career. Then I spent the last 3 or so working at TRADOC for Air Assault School, Pathfinder School, and Rappel Master School. So good career, but I was ready for a change and was looking for some good challenges, and Yale certainly had it to offer.
Yes, well, all of us are having actually internet challenges tonight. But anyways, I was talking about our undergraduate education. And so in addition to our undergraduate college, which is known as Yale College, we have 13 graduate and professional schools. So we have more than 1,200 science laboratories where students and faculty members do research. 95% of our STEM majors and 2/3 of our humanities and social science students conduct research during their time at Yale. So in addition to being a research university, Yale offers undergraduates a liberal arts and science education through Yale College. I didn't really understand what a liberal arts education meant until I went to a liberal arts college. I used to think that liberal arts meant the arts and no science, but in fact, liberal arts really means a holistic or interdisciplinary way of learning that focuses on both breadth and depth. We offer more than 2,000 undergraduate courses every year and have more than 80 majors for students to choose from. Despite its scope, Yale places a special emphasis on undergraduate learning. So our tenured professors at Yale teach undergraduates. They're not sort of ensconced elsewhere, just working with graduate students or doing their own work. And students may enroll in courses at the graduate and professional schools, our undergraduates. The student to faculty ratio is only 6:1. 3/4 of Yale College classes have fewer than 20 students in them. Some graduate and professional school courses are cross-registered with Yale College. So for example, retired General Stanley McChrystal has taught leadership classes that comprise undergraduate and graduate students. Former Secretary of State John Kerry and current US Climate Envoy has led seminars at Yale that were open to students across the university. The scholarship happening at Yale is world-class. Our undergraduates get to take advantage of some of the resources at our graduate and professional schools, and they benefit from a more intimate undergraduate experience within Yale College. So this photograph here is a Beinecke library, which is where all our rare books are held. It includes the Gutenberg Bible printed in the year 1455, which is on display right in the lobby of the library. We also hold the manuscripts and papers from Langston Hughes, a pioneer from the Harlem Renaissance. And our vast library collection is entirely accessible to all of our students, and our undergraduates even have their own personal librarian assigned to them. I think that's pretty cool. Avraham, on the topic of academics, how did you arrive at your major? Did you always know that you wanted global affairs?
Well, Patricia, I'm glad you asked. No, I did not. I came to I decided on global affairs after a long winding path. When I applied, I don't think I had any particular major strongly in mind. I was leaning towards applied mathematics. And then and I do like math. I'm one of those weird people, not gonna lie. But after taking some math classes, I was like, nah, this isn't the major I want. So then I thought maybe computer science, and I took some computer science classes, and I was like, nope. Then I thought cognitive science, and I won't bore you, but essentially kind of figuring out what I liked, figuring out what I didn't. I decided on global affairs. It kind of fit the niche that I was interested in. And I would say I was kind of influenced by just the liberal arts aspect of my education, which is to say I was just kind of taking classes from all sorts of disciplines. And then I came across one that really just really caught my interest and decided to pursue that as my major.
And I encourage everybody to keep an open mind, because there are so many disciplines and majors at Yale that might not be on your radar right now. So there are certainly students who come to Yale saying that I want to major in history, I want to major in computer science, and end up doing that. But there are also lots of students who end up changing their minds, and that's completely okay. When you apply to Yale, you're applying to Yale College, not necessarily to a specific major or department. And remember that all Yale undergraduates are enrolled in Yale College. That's what I said. But you'll also hear people refer to their residential colleges, and this can be a little bit confusing at first. Residential colleges are not academic colleges. Every Yalie is a member of one of Yale's 14 residential colleges. And though our adult students in the Eli Whitney Students Program live off campus and do not live in the residential colleges, they are affiliated with a residential college and can take advantage of the resources available through the college or through their college and participate in residential college activities. And I'll discuss the Eli Whitney Students Program a bit more later in the presentation. So each college is its own independent living space. Most have one big central courtyard or several smaller courtyards, like the photo in the upper left corner. My virtual background actually tonight is the courtyard of Berkeley College at Yale, not Berkeley University or Cal State University of California, Berkeley, not that one, our own residential college, Berkeley. And every residential college has its own dining room, small gym, common rooms, and other recreational facilities. So even though colleges are not connected to majors or academic departments, they are about learning. There are 2 faculty members who live in and lead each college, the dean and the head of the college. In the bottom left photo is Dean Bilski of our Berkeley College. Before coming to Yale, she taught English at West Point. And you'll see Steve Pitty in the bottom middle photo. He's the one with the Moose Movers t-shirt. Steve is the former head of our Ezra Stiles College. He is also a renowned scholar of immigration history and the Mexican diaspora. The colleges facilitate connections with other faculty members too, like Jim Rothman in the bottom right photo. He is a Yale College graduate, a Nobel laureate in medicine, and a resident fellow in Brantford College, where he lives and advises a group of students. And Yale has had a long-standing connection to the military, with students and alumni having served in every major armed conflict since the American Revolutionary War. Yale welcomes applications from students with military experience because you add much to the diversity of the Yale campus. The undergraduate student population is small but growing. Veterans provide a valuable perspective that our civilian undergraduates simply do not have. Yale College has doubled the number of entering veterans in 5 years. We currently have a total of 25 student veterans enrolled at Yale College and hope to grow our student veteran population. Ours is a diverse group of student veterans, as you can see from these 3 distinguished Yale student veterans. But they range in age from mid-20s to 50s with a variety of military occupations such as information tech specialist, a medic, cryptologic linguist, infantryman. Their majors are also wide-ranging. Many of our graduating military veterans go into finance, banking, and the corporate world. Examples of first finance and corporate destinations include JP Morgan, Boston Consulting Group, Logitech. We also have veterans who work directly for nonprofits or work in the government sector. So we have one former Marine whose first job out of Yale was the Strategic Initiatives Manager for a Chamber of Commerce in upstate New York. Others pursue graduate professional study. Our veterans have gone onto Georgetown, Harvard, and Yale law schools. One Air Force veteran received a Gates Cambridge scholarship that fully funds a psychology PhD in England. Yale students, they really have incredible choices upon graduation. But Yale is more than just a place where you get your bachelor's degree as quickly as possible in order to get a good job. The Yale undergraduate experience is not easily replicated. I'm lucky enough and grateful to be surrounded every day by some of the most interesting and accomplished young men and women like these 3 here, as well as world-class faculty members who they're not afraid to wrestle with difficult ideas and who want to effect positive change in the world. So our students will certainly learn a lot from their classes and their professors, but their intellectual, emotional, and social growth will be in large part due to their engagement with the Yale community outside of the classroom. Students will get much more out of their Yale experience if they eat in the dining halls, connect with Yale professors beyond the classroom, participate in myriad student activities such as intramural sports, publications, political groups, listen to the zillions of guest speakers who come to the Yale campus, go to the Yale museums, engage with the city of New Haven. So do not look at Yale simply as a stepping stone to a career. Your time at Yale will really be much, much more than that. Avraham, you have said to me in the past that instead of describing yourself as a Yale student veteran, you'd like to say that you're a Yale student and a veteran. So I know that I'm really milking this "and" analogy here, but can you explain your thinking on this further?
Yeah, totally. It's just quite simply the fact that I don't feel like I'm a Yale. When I think Yale student veteran, that means I'm like distinct from everyone else, and I can't really fit in, and I can't really be a Yale student because I'm a Yale student veteran. I kind of think of myself as a Yale student who is a veteran. I've never been like not able to do something because I'm a little older, or not able to do something because I'm a veteran. The only time like my veteran status has affected me is when it's made things like better for me. For example, like some classes, seminars have a enrollment cap or something like that. And then I tell the professor, oh, I think I have a unique perspective because of my time in the military. And then lo and behold, I get into the seminar. But it's really just, it hasn't stopped me in an academic sense. It hasn't, or I should say not stopped me, but it hasn't like been any sort of, there hasn't been any discrimination in an academic sense or in a social sense. I'm like quite involved with some student organizations. The other students, they know that I'm older. They know that I'm a veteran, and it just literally like doesn't matter in a good way.
And do you feel welcomed? I know, sort of people are not discriminating against you.
Oh
but
yeah, so sorry.
necessarily-
Discriminating is like a strong word. I just mean that in the sense of like separating, not in any like truly discriminatory sense. Yeah, no, everyone treats me. Sometimes some students are like a little bit more curious than others, and they're like, oh, what'd you do? Or were you ever sent abroad or anything like that? But honestly, by and large, the reaction I've got is like, oh wow, cool, nice. And then like, oh, so do you want to go do lunch later? Or like, are you going to come to our club meeting? That's, yeah. I hope that provides some clarification.
Absolutely. And Alec, I know that some students at colleges like Yale, and this is not just veterans, right? Often worry when they first arrive on campus that they would not be successful here. Student veterans especially may feel that they're surrounded by younger students who have spent their whole lives excelling academically. What was the transition to Yale like for you?
So there was most certainly a transition. I transitioned from community college before Yale, and it was a jump, just to be honest. But I will say Yale provides a lot of resources to make that jump easier. Like compared to community college, there's a lot more office hours. There's resources through your residential college. So if you need like individual tutoring, you can always get that. There's a writing center as well. So if you're in a writing class and you need a writing tutor, you can just reserve an hour with like a professional writer, which I never had access to in community college. So it is a transition, but there's a lot of resources to help you along the way.
Thank you. And Evan, do you have anything sort of to add to that about sort of the transition from sort of the military to Yale or from another college to Yale?
All I would say about transitioning from the military to Yale is that you will find that your military experience will come in incredibly valuable when it comes to transitioning to the challenge that is a rigorous curriculum at an academic institution such as Yale, where other people may not be as familiar with getting up early or sticking to a strict timeline. That's a lifestyle that most of you have already lived. You will find that most of those kinds of behaviors will benefit you greatly in this environment, and they will serve you well, alongside the fact that you have experience and unique perspectives, not only just as older adults, but having traveled around the world and having had an opportunity to interact with people that others have only ever read about. So this, it's I think you would find the transition to be very, very warm and welcoming. A bit intimidating at first, but you'll find you're more than up to the task.
Yes, and I think everybody's sort of concerned about their transition, to college, no matter sort of how old you are. But I think you're right, Evan. I think, sort of more mature students and adult students, returning students, tend to be much more focused. Some of you may have heard me say this before, that I think sort of college is often wasted on the young, because I think it is sort of returning students, adult students, for them, it's not sort of just on the ladder of things to do. It is a deliberate decision on their part, and I find that sort of the students who have taken sort of a longer break, have done other things before returning to college, really probably get more out of the experience oftentimes. And like Alex said, the resources are sort of just amazing. There's the Poorview Center for Teaching and Learning that supports students learning and teaches students, academic strategies. And there's a lot of funding, for students who are interested in participating in all sorts of projects, academic and otherwise. I mean, the resources are just amazing, and we're lucky to have wonderful resources. I want to emphasize, and somebody in the chat kind of asked about sort of financial aid and military education benefits. And I really, really want to emphasize that Yale is affordable. Veterans may choose to apply for Yale's generous need-based financial aid, or use their post 9/11 GI Bill or Yellow Ribbon benefits. Yale College does not cap the number of student veterans using their Yellow Ribbon benefits. And let me quote Moses Cho, who recently graduated from Yale. Let me sort of read this here. Transferring to Yale as a Marine Corps veteran was the best decision I've made. The resources, professors, and student support has made for a life-changing experience. Thanks to the Yellow Ribbon program, GI Bill, and additional financial support from the university, I graduated without taking on any student loans. It's also noteworthy that the group Veterans Education Success ranked Yale as one of the colleges with the best instructional bang for the GI Bill buck, because Yale spends much more on a student's education or veterans education than we charge in tuition. So in addition to need-based financial aid and or military education benefits, there's also plenty of research funding and funding for international experiences. New this year, Yale College students receiving need-based financial aid and with qualifying child care expenses will be eligible for a child care subsidy. This will be a great help to students with young children. And if you forget everything I say in this session, I'm completely understand, because you are having more information thrown at you than can be absorbed. But I do want you to remember that Yale is affordable. Evan, can you briefly talk about the flexibility about using either our need-based aid or GI Bill benefits a little bit? I know you've sort of given this a lot of thought.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of students doing different things because of the options available. It's nice to have options when it comes to paying for colleges such as Yale. So the need-based financial support that one receives from Yale itself is substantial, and a lot of people will save their GI Bill benefits or their voc rehabilitation benefits till graduate school, and use Yale's financial aid in the meantime, which is tremendous if you intend to go to a graduate school or some kind of graduate program. On top of that, when it comes to utilizing, or at least those that utilize GI Bill in this town, if you guys remember probably from looking this up, GI Bill pays BAH, that's basic allowance for housing. And the basic allowance for housing is based on zip code. Well, it turns out that New Haven is considered to be an extremely expensive zip code. So most of us do very well. We'll will sublet rooms, which is allowed in the city of New Haven and in the state of Connecticut. Meaning, a lot of times, I can use real numbers here. You can find a place that with shared rooms for anywhere between $700 to $900 a month, but the BH for the zip code is nearly $3,000. So you will be able to afford your cost of living, paying for your car note, your insurances, and be able to really focus on your academics and explore things you might be interested in that you didn't previously maybe consider. So, and there are options to play. I like to mention though that for those veterans that might have access to voc rehabilitation, the rules have recently changed, allowing you to use voc rehab to pay for your undergraduate education without it counting against your GI Bill. So definitely look into what the VA has to offer, but don't concern yourself. Yale also takes care of its own very well, and it's continuing to improve that as at least in the time I've been here. So, to echo Patricia, Yale is affordable. The environment is affordable to live in. Gas might be a little higher in the Northeast, but other than that, most people walk. There's a lot of available rooms to rent, houses if you need it for families. You guys, you can live comfortably and focus on those academics and not worry about paying next month's bill.
Yeah, and there's sort of chat about can you switch GI Bill benefits and need-based financial. You could definitely do the one semester you use need-based financial aid, another semester you use your GI Bill benefits. Actually, and I think actually using GI Bill benefits if you're taking summer classes is helpful, because the need-based financial aid doesn't cover the summer semester. And if you want to save your GI Bill benefits for graduate school, you can use your need-based financial aid. So you can absolutely do sort of any of that in any combination. Now, Avraham, is there advice you would like to share with students who are wondering sort of about, oh, should I even apply? I might not even be able to afford it, etc. I mean, do you have kind of thoughts to share about that?
Totally. I mean, the worst they could say is no. That was my perspective when I was applying. I was like, damn, I don't think I'm gonna get in, but might as well try. I was like, wasn't the most. I didn't have. I won't give exact numbers, but I was never a 4.0 like perfect SAT score, play the violin kind of guy. And I was like, but I did work hard. I did. I think I came from. I had a competitive application, but nothing that would blow anyone away. And I was like, I'm gonna try. And I applied, and lo and behold, here I am. And now, honestly, being at Yale, since I've been here for going on, this is my third year, feels quite mundane. But if I hadn't spent, the however many, say I put in maybe a cumulative like 12 hours, 15 hours into my application in total with the essay and feedback and service to school and all that, like that amount of time that I invested for the possibility to get into Yale ended up being so worth it. So if there's any piece of advice that I could give throughout this whole thing, it's just apply. We waived the application fee. The only thing you're paying, the only thing you have to spend is your time. And I think for the opportunities that Yale presents to you, like just all the wonderful things that can happen while you're here, like, however many hours of your life put into that application versus the benefit that you get out of it, like, please do it. To steal the most cliche quote ever, you miss every shot you don't take. So take the shot.
Oh, Avraham, you stole my line, but I am sure that you are secretly a violin player.
No, but thank you.
So as I've said earlier, I really milked the ant analogy. So I'll stop now. I hope you got a good sense of what it means to be a Yale student from what we have shared. There will be also more time later for Q&A. But let me now explain the admissions process briefly. And oh, sort of by the way, I had sort of initially planned that around this time we would end and then we'd go into kind of the two different Zoom rooms. But because of our technical difficulties, I think the webinar part of this session will go on just, maybe for 10 more minutes before we break into the different rooms. But anyway, so let me explain the admissions process briefly. There are 3 pathways through which you can apply to Yale. The traditional path is to apply as a first-year candidate. This would be for students who have less than the equivalent of 1 year's worth of transferable credits. The vast majority of Yale students applied as first years. They usually went directly from high school to Yale, though some of them may have taken 1 or 2 gap years. Students with 1 to 2 years worth of transferable credits may apply as transfer candidates, and these are usually students who went directly to another college from high school and who wish to transfer to Yale. So recognizing that adult students have different needs, Yale also offers a unique program designed specifically for people who finished high school more than 5 years ago. The Eli Whitney Students Program is a traditional in-person academic program for people who have taken a non-traditional route towards their education. Depending on eligibility, veterans may apply to any one of these 3 programs. But veterans usually find that the Eli Whitney Students Program is the better fit for them. But understand that you're not restricted to applying just to the Eli Whitney Students Program. I'll be having a separate virtual information session on the Eli Whitney Students Program this Thursday evening. So please join me then if you wish to learn more about the Eli Whitney Students Program. Maybe Alec, if you can maybe put the link to register for the Thursday program in the chat, that'll be great. And all undergraduates, no matter which of these 3 pathways they come through, receive the same Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science degree from Yale. They take the same classes as all other Yale College students, have the same majors or have the same sort of access to majors that every other Yale College student has. They take the same classes, have the same majors to choose from. They fulfill the same undergraduate academic requirements. And so the websites noted on this slide will provide you with detailed information about each pathway. Application deadlines are different for each of these 3 options, so please be sure to check out the relevant web pages. Which option is the best fit for you depends on your specific circumstances. So do not be shy about contacting me after tonight to discuss which of these pathways are best for you. And many of you submitted questions about what you can do to make yourself more competitive in the admissions process. So let me sort of talk about that a little bit, and especially how we review applications. There are Yale student veterans who did not take classes while they were serving in the military, but many of them took classes or college classes after they were discharged and before applying to Yale. Some of our veterans transferred from 4-year colleges, like Evan did, but many of Yale's student veterans transferred from 2-year colleges, like Alec and Abraham. There's no quantitative formula that we use to make admissions decisions. We do not base our admissions decisions simply on GPAs or the courses that you have taken or on your military credentials. We use a sort of holistic or whole person review process in which we take many factors into consideration. Do not let weaker, earlier academic credentials prevent you from considering Yale. Though we certainly have student veterans on our campus who had consistently strong academic records, we also have many successful candidates who had weak high school or even earlier college credentials. We do, though, expect applicants to present strong, recent academic credentials with grades primarily in the A range. We encourage you to take college courses similar to those offered at Yale. Strong candidates usually will have taken college math and writing classes. So if you're trying to figure out what classes to take humanities, social science, foreign language, science courses. The SAT and ACT are optional for those applying for fall 2022 entrance. We will take test results into consideration when provided, but for those files without testing, we'll simply base our admissions decisions on the other admissions materials in the file. The college application essays and answers to other application questions provide the admissions committee with information about your writing ability, your intellectual depth, your background, and perspectives. If your experience in the military was transformative, don't be shy about sharing that with us in your application. Submit thoughtful essays. The admissions committee wants to know what's important to you. What do you think about? What excites you? What are your values? We want to get a sense also of how you would contribute to a Yale classroom. Yale is first and foremost an academic institution, right? So it is recommended that at least 2 of the letters of recommendation come from instructors who have taught you in an academic setting. We understand that with some online classes, your instructors may not know you at all, or certainly may not know you well enough to write a letter of recommendation for you. So though we do prefer academic recommendations, we understand that it may not always be possible that, you will submit, 2 letters of recommendations from academic instructors. You may submit an additional recommendation from the military. Applicants for whom we would like more information may be invited for virtual interviews. So like the essays, the interview is a way for applicants to speak directly to the admissions office. Our admissions team will take all that I have mentioned into consideration. There are 3 questions guiding the admissions committee as we review applications. So 1, who will thrive and succeed academically at Yale? 2, who is likely to make the most of Yale's resources? And 3, who will contribute most significantly to the Yale community? I know that the admissions process to highly selective colleges can seem daunting and that it's difficult to determine your likelihood of admission. If you feel that Yale might be the right fit for you, please consider submitting an application. As Abraham said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. That said, I tell all students that they should be sure to apply to colleges with a range of selectivity. No matter how accomplished a student may be, it simply is not prudent for anybody to apply only to the most selective schools in the country. We're lucky to live in a country with more than 2,000 colleges, and there's more than one college that will be the right fit for you. And Alec, you're the student here who most recently went through the college search process. And from your experience, what admissions advice do you wish to share with those attending this session?
I think it's really important to think about like what college fits you rather than like trying to fit yourself into a college when you're looking around and thinking about the places where you would actually be happy and feel like you thrive and that would complement all of your interests. I think one of the reasons why I was so interested in Yale is because I could like picture myself attending this school as a student. And I knew that I would be around a lot of students who want to work together and collaborate. And that was the type of environment I wanted to be in. So I think that you should probably just think about what's really important to you and find something that fits that. And also to go along with the college search process, I would recommend starting as early as possible. I think all the advice Patricia gave is amazing, and I don't want to like repeat everything she said because it was good. But start as early as possible because it will probably take longer than you think to figure out where you want to attend.
And Avraham, sort of think back when you were in high school. I mean, let's say that someone mentioned to you that their cousin went to Yale. I mean, what did Yale mean to you back then? And that now that you are here, any surprises? Kind of, is your perception of Yale kind of different than what you kind of, your perception that you had sort of eons ago?
Oh yeah, so totally. When I was in high school, I would say if you asked me to think of like what a Yale College student was like or what the vibe here was like, and it was like, I would say it's all very wealthy, uppity people who are pretentious and look down on me. And fortunately, that is not the case. While I am certain there is someone who fits that category perfectly at Yale, I've yet to meet them. Everyone here, now that I'm here, people are outgoing, people are friendly. I know people are also collaborative. At some schools, there's a vibe that everyone's out for themselves, and I can't help you because that's going to hurt me. I certainly haven't gotten that feeling here. There are people from a variety of backgrounds. Well, I haven't really met many pretentious people. I've met many wealthy people, but I've also met many middle-class people, many like people from very low socioeconomic statuses, like you name it, you name the ethnicity, the socioeconomic class, the country, the this, the that, the personality, they're pretty much all here. And for the most part, I think the admissions office does a pretty good job of, like I said earlier, just admitting people who have a good personality, like folks that I'm happy to be in class with, I'm happy to call my friends, I'm happy to be in clubs with, and I'm happy to call my fellow Yaleys.
And Evan, before I show kind of the slide or talk about sort of other resources, do you have any sort of last words about sort of your Yale experience as a veteran that you want to share with others?
Absolutely. I find this to be true almost everywhere, but especially here at Yale, because Yale has a tremendous amount of resources and a majors list that'll make you reconsider everything you thought you ever wanted to do. It's so long. Only you can make the best of your situation. So like if you would like to apply to Yale, I highly recommend you explore ideas that you didn't think you would be interested in before. You try on new shoes, wear new hats, look at new subject matters. I would never describe Yale as a check the box kind of institution. I would describe it as a place that very much supports those who are interested in broad spectrum learning, understanding the whys of things. And I find that these kinds of individuals do really well at Yale. And those that check the box, well, they also do well, but it might be a little harder internally. And I would say to those that are applying, plan to win. I wouldn't say that the trophy is simply getting accepted to Yale. What are you going to study? What would you like to do with it? If you don't really consider a lot of those things, where you see yourself with your Yale education, it'll be hard to tie, I think, an application in all together. So think about direction, and try to be okay with understanding that might change as soon as you land here. As soon as you get on ground, you might find a completely different path that you've never heard of before that just really speaks to you better than anything you've come across so far. For me, that was neuroscience. I came here to study psychology, 4 years into a neuroscience major. So just, I keep that in mind. If I can mention one more thing, Patricia, for me, at least, I know with my application essay, I found this to be pretty important because I got a lot of advice from people that had already made it into programs such as these, whether it be at Yale or other top tier institutions. And the advice that was given to me was, remember that it matters more that you explain who you are and not necessarily what you've done. And I would echo that advice because I guess I might be biased, but it worked for me. So I would echo that advice to all of you.
Yes, great advice, everybody. Thank you. And so feel free to take a photo of this slide. Visit our admissions webpage for veterans to seek more information. There's a ton of information about Yale and the admissions process online. If you continue to have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions by email or to set up a phone appointment. I put, let's see, we did put up the registration link for the Thursday program on the chat. And Alec, can you put up the Zoom meeting links for the student Zoom meeting and the Zoom meeting with me? So I encourage all veterans planning on going to college or transferring to four-year or transferring to a four-year college to seek out the services of Service to School. I mean, that's a mouthful. It's a nonprofit organization run by veterans for veterans and transitioning service members seeking support in the college admissions process. I know sort of some of our student panelists tonight are ambassadors for Service to School. And another wonderful program is the Warrior Scholar Project, a nonprofit organization that hosts free academic boot camps to help veterans prepare for college, whether that college is Yale or your local community college. The Warrior Scholar Project was founded by Yale students and has now expanded to many college campuses throughout the country. And many of Yale student veterans participated in the Warrior Scholar Project. Alec was actually, not only was he a participant, he also then ended up last year being a fellow in the Warrior Scholar Project. Do you want to say just a few words briefly about the Warrior Scholar Project experience?
Yeah, absolutely, Patricia. Warrior Scholar Project, like Patricia said, it's a academic boot camp for active duty and veterans of the military. We tried to give you all of the tools that you will need to succeed in higher education, whether that's analytical reading, writing essays, learning how to succeed in STEM classes. I can't recommend it enough. I attended, I think 2 years or 3 years ago now at Cornell. And like Patricia said, I was a fellow, and there's plenty of other like really amazing fellows who want to help you on your journey to education. So I'd recommend them.
And you know, when we have more time, I'll tell you how the Warrior Scholar Project started and what the what the impetus was that was. But we're running out of time. So, so this portion of the information session, I think, has been a good way for us to provide you with a general overview of Yale and the admissions process. But we know that this has not been a particularly interactive format. So we've reserved times for you to enter 2 separate Zoom meetings, one with me and one with all 3 of our student veterans. I think we answered many, but not all of your pre-submitted questions. So feel free to ask your questions during the Zoom meeting. The Q&A sessions will not be recorded. And so, you know, the links are in the chat. So join me if you seek admissions advice, have questions about financial aid or admissions, or about which application pathway is best for you. Join the student panelists if you have questions about student life or about what it's like to be a student veteran at Yale. Remember that you can start in one room and then go to the other. You can jump back and forth. You know, it will, the program, the Zoom meetings will end at 9:35. I think that should still give you enough time to ask your questions. So I am tremendously grateful to all of you for your service to our country, and I'm glad that you were able to join us for this part of the session. I am thankful to Evan, Avraham, and Alec for taking time out of their busy class schedules and activities to share their Yale experiences with you. I feel like I'm sort of one of the luckiest people in the world because I get to work every day with wonderful students like these 3. So I'll end the webinar now, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the Zoom meetings immediately after. So take care and bye-bye.
Don't forget to grab those links before you head out.